What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of Grey Man Operation. So this video is not a video I had intended to make. My character was recently called into question, and so we're doing an emergency video. And I'm also going to give you some advice on my opinions in capital letters on finding a gear reviewer that might be worth it for you. Okay? Now, quite recently, I was offered the opportunity to review a red dot. Now, my red dot reviews generally cost me between 8 and 10,000 rand because I do a 1,000 rand review. I also buy a box of carry ammo, which I use, and I also have to go on a course or two so I can shoot the red dot in an uncontrolled environment. And generally, I accept these costs because, well, 100% of the time people say, look, you can keep the red dot. Okay. Now, first and foremostly, people being given gear to review is not out of the ordinary. It is the norm. On the gear reviewer side, it's very expensive to do this. So naturally you would expect, well, if I can keep the product, I can then continue to do videos with it. I can continue to show it on my social medias. It's another product to add to my catalog, and it's useful. So I'll pay for the review. I'll pay for the effort and time and expenses of doing the review. If you are the gear supplier, you're saying to yourself, well, this guy is going to review our product and publish that review, and we are going to get exposure. Now, why does this work for the company? Well, if you wanted to review this red dot or advertise red dot through an advertising agency, you'd have to send them the dot and pay them to advertise. And I can tell you it works out better 99% of the time for the company than for the reviewer. I know for a fact that this has happened multiple times with multiple different products, but you guys remember this, the 511 Select Carry pistol pouch that I reviewed? I know for a fact that post my review, those things basically sold out here in South Africa. I know for a fact because the people who supply it told me. So anyway, so this client wanted me to review the red dot, do my full 1,000 rand review or 10,000 rand review. But they also said we'd like it back in good condition. And to this, I was like, that's a problem. Okay. You're going to have to come to the table here somehow. That's when they started questioning, what about your relationship with Canik and all these other gear suppliers that supply you with gear we've done reviews for. Now, let me make something clear. Never, since this channel has been running, of the 500 and something videos I've done, has a company paid me to review their gear. Not one single cent has entered my bank account from a company paying me to review their gear. People might talk about my relationship with Canik. What people have to understand is I generally buy and give away what I get. So the Caniks I have, I've bought and given away more Caniks than I own. By the way, end of September, we're giving away Canik Meta SF, probably with a red dot. For August, every month, if you're a patron, I'm giving away one of these backpacks, which I think is literally the perfect backpack. It's an everything backpack. The Canik giveaway and the backpack giveaway is only for patrons. If you want to become a patron, it's the first link in the video description below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, it is the first comment. But when I do these Canik giveaways, guys, I buy the Canik with cash money, my own cash money, and then I give it away. Often I'll do giveaways of gear that I get. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I get sent gear to review, and like I said, that has been happening forever. Okay, people have been reviewing gear since the beginning of marketing. It's literally marketing. It's advertising. Men have been taking the opinions of other men about things since it was the written word, since it was the guy knocking at your door selling you a vacuum cleaner, since you watched it on TV, and now it's on YouTube. It's the same thing, it's just a different platform. So now that we got out of the way the fact that companies always send gear reviewers gear, and that people have been taking the opinions of other people since the beginning of advertising or marketing, I want to try to maybe just give you some insight from my side as someone who both watches gear reviews and reviews gear as to whose opinions you possibly want to avoid in all of this. So I'll tell you the opinion you should avoid, and then I'll tell you how I differ to that. And again, all opinions, right? First and foremostly, I think you should be strongly cautious about people who talk about their own gear, people who have skin in the game, or people who are sponsored. If you manufacture a product or you sell a product, obviously your view about your product is going to be that it's better than the competitors. You are not going to tell someone, hey, please go and buy my competitor's product over mine because it's cheaper and better built. So if you are a manufacturer of things, or if you're watching someone who is a manufacturer of things, or you're watching someone who sells things that they are talking about, take that with possibly a pinch of salt. These people are heavily invested in those things, so they want them to sell. I'm not saying all of them lie to you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if they say this particular gun is the best, go and watch multiple reviews of it because it behooves them to say it's the best. Now, on my side, people have asked me, but what about your website? What you'll notice is since I think late last year or mid to late last year, I've closed my website. I literally don't sell anything anymore, specifically because people ask me that. And the crazy thing is, everything on my website that I promoted, I still run, and I still think is the best stuff to have. This pouch, this med pouch from Urban Warrior, full trauma kit, I still think is the best med pouch, and I still carry it in my EDC backpack daily. So be cautious of people who sell gear and who manufacture the gear they are talking about. It's very highly likely, and rightly so, that their opinions are skewed towards their own gear. The second thing is gear elitists, or the wealthy 0.1%. For most of us watching gear reviews, financially driven indicators are important. Okay, now I am not a wealthy person. I work a 9 to 5. I can tell you with complete certainty and openness, I can't afford to not have my 9 to 5. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's not a mansion, and it's not in the world's greatest part of town. I'm a very normal person. I do this every single weekend of my life for nearly 8 years. And that's how I've built my following and the trust in what I do, which we'll talk about a little later on. There are a lot of people who only want the most expensive stuff. And I'm saying most expensive, I'm not necessarily saying the best. Okay, there are a lot of gear items where the name adds 30% to it, right? This red dot, when I reviewed it, it's an Accra red dot, was 3,900 Rand. I've dropped this thing thrice on its head, on purpose, on concrete, okay? Over 1,300 rounds through it, I think. Every possible thing you could do to a red dot, I did to this red dot, and it still works now. Hasn't lost zero. Still perfectly functional. The only reason not on a gun is because I'm testing the version 2. So you don't necessarily have to go for the most expensive, but there are people out there who believe if it costs the most, it must be the best. So you do sometimes pay name tax. Another thing you must watch out for is guys that don't have a large sample size. Now, when you review a product, let's say it's a red dot, right? I've reviewed, I think, 8 red dots. I have 12. There's a couple that I haven't reviewed because I wasn't overly happy with it, right? But when you review things, you've got to ensure that you have a reasonably large sample size, and that sample size is from multiple different optics running in multiple different price ranges. So you can see and understand the value of expensive versus cheap, if there is any great value, and technically good versus bad. These are all boxes with red dots in them, right? And technically good versus bad, so you can see what the market out there is doing. If you don't have something to compare something to, how do you know if what you have is good? Okay, you've got to be able to compare it to something. So when I review a weapon-mounted light, I have a box of weapon-mounted lights that I've reviewed in the past that I compare to and be like, wow, this light is better than that one because this does that, etc., etc. But if I only have one, I guarantee you that will be the best weapon light I've ever reviewed because I have no sample size. So people must have a large sample size. Now, something that I am confident that I am better than most people at is holster reviews. So this is one of 2 boxes that is full of holsters. Okay, I've got another one in my garage that I simply couldn't be bothered to bring up and show you. And then these are the holsters that I'm currently testing and reviewing. I'm confident I can look at the holster and know whether it's going to work for what I want it to work for or not. And that is the value of sample size. You've got to have tested so many that you know the formula. And more importantly, it's sometimes more important to test a poor product so you know what makes a product poor than it is to constantly test good products. And then another person you want to avoid is what I call a bandwagoner. This is people who don't have the gear they're talking about, but they will tell you it's the best. It's like they spend 10 minutes with it and this is the best, simply because the world says it's the best. I find that to be so really true. Be very cautious about people who won't review or won't look at inexpensive gear. They often, in my view, bandwagoners, where it's like if it isn't the most expensive or the most popular, I don't want to know. Trust me, in the gear community, you can find hidden gems. Now, for those of you who haven't been following me for a while or might not know, my channel used to be called EDC for the EDG, which stands for Everyday Carry for the Everyday Guy. And if you want to know who I am, I'm literally the everyday guy. I'm the normalest dude you will ever meet in your life. I just happen to have done so many gear reviews so consistently that I have an enormous sample size and understanding, and I'm incredibly analytical about it. When I review a holster or an optic, I try that optic on different guns. I take that holster apart. Go and ask holster manufacturers if they've sent me something, how often I take their shit apart. Literally take it apart so that I can understand how it works and how to get the best out of it. And watch my reviews. I know for a fact I'm an incredibly analytical person. It's been told to me enough times for me to know that it's true. And so my gear reviews are incredibly impartial because no one has, I've skin in the game with no one. Nobody pays me a single silver cent. Okay? If I don't like something, you don't see it on my channel. I don't care who it is. I would always recommend, try to find a gear review that sort of aligns with who you are, because they're going to speak the most sense to your current situation. And so guys, going forward, it's important you understand that if anybody ever does pay me or sponsor me, I will always be transparent about it. I'm more active on Instagram in terms of posting things. I do also share those things directly to Facebook, but Facebook, I've got like 50,000 on Facebook, so Facebook is inundated with like inbox and things like that I just can't get through. Some of them aren't even in English. Okay, so it's just difficult for me to get through it. So I'm a bit more responsive on Instagram. So check me out on the if you want to. But if somebody, and I'll tell you this right now, if a company comes in and says we'd like to sponsor you with 2,000 rands of ammo a month, I'm going to accept it. Understand that. I'm not so rich. I'm not so elitist that I'm not going to take that opportunity, because I can use that to make even more amazing reviews in an even shorter space of time. Okay. Everything on this channel is an opinion. Nothing is a recommendation. If there's something you don't agree with, that's cool. You know, all of us are not going to agree with everything. It's life. Okay. And at the end of the day, I can only present my opinion as honestly as I feel it to be. Guys, super honest video. I just wanted to share that with you because it really irritated me when the situation arose that people questioned my character when I tried to be as impartial and as honorable as possible in this field. And so I hope this clears up a lot of things. That's it, guys. I'll speak to you soon. Have a good week. Be safe. Train hard. Cheers. God bless.